Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I want to talk about the process I went through to recreate this drawing by Dan Mora, who is a comic book artist. And I haven't read comic books in about 15 years, but I do keep up with the artist because it is a style, the comic book style. I just love it so much, and it's always a style that I've aspired to. And I thought this drawing by him was just great. One thing I have issues with that I'm still struggling with is shading, cross-hatching, inking, things like that, finishing a drawing. And I thought this was polished and so well done, I wanted to take a shot at trying to emulate that style. So when I was growing up, there wasn't YouTube because, you know, I'm very, very old, just so old, extremely old, but let's not worry about that. The internet didn't exist, so YouTube didn't exist. So without YouTube, I never saw the process of an artist drawing. It looked to me like when they started, they had a perfect idea of where they were going to go, and every line is smooth and finished, and that's how it worked. From beginning to end, it was just a finished process. And that's how I drew for the longest time. I didn't, sketch things in. I didn't worry about shapes. And I think that really hindered me from improving. Now, the one guide I had growing up was the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way book. And it does show in there a couple of options for drawing, which was one, you scribble in the pose and the figure you want, and then you slowly clean that up to get where you want to be. The other was to use like cylinders and circles and things like that to block in your shape, and then you finish that up. But I ignored that. As a kid, I completely ignored that. And I just, would start with the eyes and draw the eyes and the nose and then try to get the face right around that. And it is a horrible way to try to draw because if you don't get it right the first time, you feel like you're failing and then you give up. So I've been trying to be more sketchy and blocking in things before I start the finishing process. And I think my shapes and figures are getting better because of that, but I never feel like I have a finished product on my hands. So one of the things I've been doing a lot is studying other artists and trying to emulate how their finished product looks, but starting at a sketchy beginning point to create that. So as we go through this video, you'll see that I really start sketchy. I used to like I said, start with the eyes and the nose, the fun stuff, and not worry about the blocky stuff. But I've changed that now and have been going through my studies of other artists to kind of block in what they've done. And I just realized as looking at this looks like Jack White with a very large nose. Maybe it's the hair, I'm not sure. You do need to find your own style, but you should really look at the process other artists work through, because I struggle with that because, like I said, growing up, I couldn't see anybody working. So I wasn't sure how. And like I said earlier with creative endeavors, when I read a book, I feel like I'll have the writer just sit down and write this start to finish this good. And that's because they didn't. They went through numerous drafts and numerous edits, and nothing is ever perfect. So for me to learn that I can be rough and sketchy and blocky and, later come back and refine that as many times as I need to is a helpful lesson for me to have learned. If you can watch videos of, real artists working. Jim Lee's got a YouTube channel. I'm always watching him, is great. Frank Cho does some videos on Facebook. I'm not sure if he's on YouTube. Watching him work is great. And the final thing I want to talk about is don't be discouraged when you watch these people work, because not only have they put in years and years and years of practice and, they make it look easy. I hear artists all the time who are at that level talking about, they just don't feel like have it today for whatever reason. They just feel like they're not at their normal level. So everybody goes through ups and downs. And, the big thing is just to keep practicing, mainly because you enjoy it. I don't plan on ever being a comic book artist, even considered an artist at all on a professional level where I get paid for it, because this is just something I enjoy. And, doing practices like this, even though it's not my own creation and it's not my own style, I'm more mimicking somebody else's drawing. It does make you feel like I could eventually learn to do this. Look how I took this from beginning to end, even though it may not look as good as the artist you're trying to mimic or studying. You can at least look at it and think, well, I got partially the way there. Eventually, maybe I could get all the way there, or eventually I could do the same with my own style and my own drawings. To me, these studies are very beneficial just to kind of give me a little hope that skills can increase over time. So hopefully you found this information helpful from a struggling artist's perspective. And by struggling, I mean struggling to get to the level I want to get to. And, you know, it's incremental. If it's just a slight improvement, if I, from this drawing, learned slightly better techniques for inking or slightly better techniques for creating shadows, or even learned a new process in Procreate or Photoshop or Toon Boom Harmony, if you learn just a slight thing from that work that you did, whether it's your own creation or somebody else's you're trying to improve by looking at their work, you've accomplished something. So that's all that matters, is if you feel like you've accomplished a little bit of something by doing this process, it's worthwhile. And hopefully other struggling artists who think nobody feels like you do, that's not true. I think anybody who wants to improve always feels like that. Well, not all people, but a lot of people. Most people feel like they aren't where they want to be, and it's a real struggle to even make incremental improvements. I appreciate you watching and listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.